So it's been a couple of months since the Olympics ended, and I've made the decision to pick up recurve again. While I've been trying to figure out how this fancy bow works again, this video by blumineck popped up discussing why men and women are segregated in specific sports, highlighting Olympic archery as the key example. It's a short video, but the main points that were made were that women could have beaten the men at the last Olympics, that the playing field is level enough that being male or female doesn't really matter, and ends on the open question about whether it has to do with something else, spotlighting the situation with skeet shooting where women have beaten men in the same competition. I've actually already discussed the gender gap previously on a longer video and was planning on a briefer one already, so I will be using blumineck's recent commentary to elaborate on why things are the way they are. Firstly, to clarify a few things, blumineck said that men and women shoot the same size targets at the same distance at the Olympics. This is true. The standard round is the 70-720, which is 72 arrows at 70 meters, the 720 referring to the maximum possible score. However, this wasn't always the case. Traditionally, a different round was used, the Theta 1440, which differed between men and women. Men shot 36 arrows at each distance from 90 meters, 70 meters, 50 meters, and 30 meters. Women shot 36 arrows at 70, 60, 50, and 30 meters. This was only changed in 1992 to 144 shots at 70 meters, with the current 72 arrow ranking round adopted in 1996. The 1440 round is still shot at some national and state level events, still separating the 90 meter men's round and the 70 meter women's round. The reasons for this difference isn't relevant right here and will be discussed later. The point is that men and women have always competed separately in different kinds of rounds due to differences in the capabilities in the sport, and the apparent parity is only very recent due to advances in equipment. He then makes the claim that the women's gold medalist in the Paris 2024 Olympics would have beaten the men's gold medalist, breaking up the scorecards. This is an odd take in my opinion. These are individual elimination matches between two opponents. While they are shooting at the same target and distance, the conditions are different. The matches themselves are shot at different times, so there may be different wind and temperature that affects one match more than the other. There's also the mental pressure in facing a particular opponent. For this reason, you can't just simply take the score of one tennis match, compare it to another potential opponent, and then say they would have done the exact same. The second problem is that these matches offer a very small sample size that doesn't reflect the competition. The 72 arrow ranking round should be used as a benchmark. In this regard, blumineck could still be correct, as Lim Se-yuan absolutely smashed the world record with 694 compared to Kim Woo-jin's 686 in the same round. But there's a different problem here. The exceptionally high scores are outliers that almost exclusively belong to two Korean women who were on world record pace. The gap between second and third is so large, Chinese archer Yang Xiaolei would be 15th in the men's ranking. We're also committing an error by only taking the very best and drawing conclusions. We need to take a look at the bigger picture. Is there enough of a difference between men and women in Olympic archery to continue separating them? First and foremost, there is undeniably a skill gap. The results do not lie. When comparing the entire field for men and women, men on average perform better. In 2024, the mean score for the men's ranking round was 659 compared to women's 647. The median score for men, 662, for women it was 650. If we go back to the 2020 Tokyo Games, the gap is wider. For men, the mean score was 655, median 654. For women, the mean score was 638, median 637. Men consistently perform better. The very best women could compete against the middle of the field man, and in the coin flip of knockout matches, anything could happen, but the scores don't lie. If we take the exact middle of the 2020 women's event, she would place near the bottom of the men's event. It isn't an even playing field. That is why men and women compete separately. However, we also have to consider that the results at Olympic level are skewed. not just by the fact that Korean women are almost always the outliers, but because the Olympians themselves don't reflect every other level of the sport to which the rules apply the same. At national, state and lower levels, the gap between men and women is even larger. The men's field is generally more competitive than women. Again, the very best women can slot into the middle third of the men's field, but there might only be one woman who can do that in any given competition. The average archer is mismatched against the opposite sex. This leads to a secondary but major reason why the genders are segregated, to encourage participation. Archery and most sports is male dominated. Historically, it was the men who used bows to hunt and fight in war. Archery as a recreational sport is about as old as football. While the sport itself is very accessible to women, culturally it isn't popular in most countries, let alone among women. Consequently, the numbers are lopsided at grassroots level. The proportions are slightly better at club level due to the social effect of archery, but fewer women choose to compete at higher level, and with virtually no opportunities to make a living of archery, it isn't a viable career path that women could opt into, especially as women are still the primary caretakers in families. This manifests in less motivation and time to train in the sport. If you put women, who on average are less trained and experienced than men in the same event, men would almost always win, and by large margins. This would have the effect of deterring women from competing in the sport, because the odds of succeeding in the sport are very low if they are forced to compete with men. Finally, why is there disparity in scores despite the same targets and distances? Despite what many believe, archery, specifically target archery, is not an aiming sport. It's an endurance sport. The target isn't moving and there's no need for hand-eye coordination. The whole game is about consistency and repeatability. That means having the strength to control the bow and the stamina to do so for hours, to shoot a pinpoint target at long distance. Using a bow requires upper body strength, and men are biologically more inclined to develop these muscles, while women tend to have more stability in the hips and lower body. This distinction is more advantageous to men in archery because higher draw weights bring more advantages. Firstly, being able to shoot further, also attaining a high arrow velocity and therefore less wind drift. Top-end male archers are in the high 40 pound to 50 pound range. Women tend to shoot in the 40 pound range with outliers being higher. I humbly shoot a 36 pound bow at 70 meters and can make the distance, so you don't need that higher draw weight, but my shot takes about 2 seconds to hit the target. In a crosswind, shortening that by even half a second is going to do a lot to reduce the spread. The preference for heavy weights for long distance is the singular reason why men have the edge over women in Olympic archery. This in theory should mean that in close distance events, especially the 80 meter indoor events where there is no wind and you don't need a heavy bow to make the distance, the competition should be closer. But looking at the 2024 European Indoor Championships, we see the same pattern. Men's mean score was 5.63, women's was 5.55, and there were more men than women. In conclusion, there's a clear reason why the events are separated. It is because a mixed event would be unfair and exclude the majority of women. In a more casual setting, the gap between men and women is not as clear or as important, and it's not unusual for smaller clubs to run mixed events because no one's at a level where the gap is going to be unfair. It's not unusual for a club to have a very competitive female archer who is way ahead of the men by virtue of her being more competitive and doing more training. However, if the benchmark for parity is, can a Korean woman win, that says more about the opportunities given to Korean women than equality in the sport. Unless we make huge changes to the cultural acceptance and value of sport among and including of women, including the economic and career opportunities to build women's sport, which in turn is driven by demand for those sports, archery will be one of those sports that continue to segregate based on sex.